Well, slightly different week, of course, with All-Star Week. Delighted to see Hany and Walker come through Wednesday's game, and of course, with an MLS result under their belt. The rest of the week, with the majority of the group, has been bright. It's been purposeful. We've got through some very nice work. In fact, some foundational work that I felt we've been in need of for a good while, given our schedule. And I think it just helps mentally for the guys to go into the game with a little bit more perspective, maybe even a tad more confidence, and certainly some renewed connections and understanding that only the training ground can offer the players. So it's been a very decent week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
Gary, what sort of what feedback did you get from Hany and Walker about the experience that they had in Minneapolis, and what they were able to do in terms of everything that went down with the All-Star Week?
Well, I mean, they've come back, full of enthusiasm and excited about the event that went on. I think you can tell by the way that they went about their business, some of the pre-game stuff. Of course, Hany's the greatest crossbar challenge individual now in the world, which is a great accolade, of course. But I think they had a great time. And the game was a very exciting one, of course. So much talent on the field, but I think the two guys had a real good experience. And just purely from a personal standpoint, delighted for Adrian. I thought he handled the situation incredibly well. Of course, I would say that because Walker and Hany played 30 and 45 minutes, so I'm delighted.
We'll go back to Tim for a follow-up, and then Drake Hills of the Tennessean. Go ahead, Tim.
You mentioned that the other guys were able to get some foundational work in. What were some of your priorities in terms of what you wanted to get done on the training pitch over the course of these past few days?
Well, when you've got a glut of games, it's very, very difficult to do any real structural work. A lot of that's coming out of the 90 minutes that you're seeing and on a regular basis. So it's been nice just to be able to break a few things down again. Some of the connections as we build out, some of the connections when you get into that final third, maybe, even one or two new ideas. The relationships that are building, of course, Shaq will be at the top of that list. What is his relationship like with the attacking player in front of him, with and without the ball? And just generally, I think playing at a speed and with a purpose that, can reflect and, maybe look realistic rather than probably certainly for the last 10 days or 2 weeks, it's been a little bit more low-key, trying to get the guys back into some sort of physical world that they can compete again. So I've been very, very pleased with the way that the guys have got after it. We were, of course, missing two very important pieces to that who were away on Wednesday. But that, again, gives other people a bit of a chance to try and stake a little bit of a claim and, show again what they're worth should the opportunity come along.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go to Drake Hills and then Ben Wright. Go ahead, Drake.
Gary, good to see you again. I wanted to ask, you talked about the week and what that meant for the guys that were in training. What did that mean for those trying to get back to health, like Ake and Annabelle?
Annabelle's in great shape. We've seen Annabelle for the majority of the week, and there should be no reason why he's not in contention for the weekend. Ake's in a slightly different position. He's had an issue with, I can only describe it as the trunk region, the pelvic region, that the guys are trying to work through in the medical department, and he won't be available for us at the weekend, unfortunately. I've seen him out on the field doing some physical work, so he's certainly moving forward, but he's not going to be in a position to compete for the weekend.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, I was going to ask the same question that Drake did, but kind of along similar lines. We heard, I guess, Mike Jacobs talk at times about just kind of the adaptation period for new signings and how he really thinks it takes a year for them to really get their feet under them coming into MLS. So with Ake, since it's been just around a year since he got into the team, what have you made of his adaptation, and kind of when he gets back to health, what do you expect to see from him for the rest of the year?
Well, listen, he's come in as a designated player. I mean, we all feel as though he's capable of making a serious difference in the team. Individually, he has some exceptional talent, and that's a big part of the reason that the player was signed for the club. Has he been able to show that in the time that he's played? I would say that the jury's still out on that. I think we've seen flashes of some real quality, and along with the competition that he's had around him, he probably feels as though he's not had as much time as he would like to try and create those foundations and those connections. But the feeling around the club, staff, players alike, is that he will at some point be a difference maker, and that has to be the mindset. So my hope is he gets fit quickly. We get him back to a point where he can compete to get back in the team. But in the process of that, we've seen another player come back in Teal and score 4 goals in 4 games. So, there's a lot of competition, and there always is in those creative areas. To come into the side and make a difference is, I think, all anyone asks, and that will be what we continue to ask of Aki, and there's no doubt he is capable of doing that.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go down the line with Drake Hills and then Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Drake.
You talked about the schedule earlier, Gary, and how things have been really claustrophobic in terms of the game. So this week has been a chance for you guys to get that foundation of work in. In terms of the next couple of games, speaking about where you guys are in the standings, both Minnesota and Dallas, maybe not necessarily game planning flow specifically, but just the attitude and the tone of what it takes to go up against those playoff contending sides. How does that, if at all, influence what you guys have been doing this week?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're at that stage of the season, Drake. We're at the business end. The games we're going to run into now are the proverbial 6-pointers. The Western Conference, as I've said on multiple occasions, from 3 to 12 are so tight. A couple of victories for any team can put them in a very, very strong position. And that's what we're fighting for. We had and have had some very tough challenges, no different to any other team. But last week, running into Toronto and the way they've retooled at the end of a very challenging travel week was not an easy one. I thought the guys showed up. They absolutely got after the game, and we fell short. Through no lack of effort or trying, but we fell short. And, the comments and maybe the message after the game was that sort of mindset, drive, and I want to say passion to try and either win or get back into a game is what's going to be necessary in this running. Some very good sides, all competing to be above the line, all feeling as though they should be above the line, and we're no different. But what you are seeing across the league, are games that are touch tight, in most cases nothing to choose between the teams, and draws. Or very fine lines, something that out of the ordinary in terms of quality, maybe a decision, something in a game that turns it your way, and we've got to do our utmost, to assure everyone that it's going to be turned our way, and being at home, we'd like to think we can do that.
Tim Sullivan, you're on with head coach Gary Smith.
Gary, you mentioned Adrian there and how gracious he was to not play Hany and Walker too much. What have you seen out of his team in the time since you guys played them back in March? And what has changed other than, obviously, I know Dane St. Clair didn't start that game and has really emerged as one of the best keepers in the league. What are you expecting to see out of Minnesota?
I mean, they've been a playoff contending team, a playoff team in general for a number of years now. And Adrian's done a fabulous job there. They are always ultra competitive, well organised, and of course they have 2 or 3 individuals in the group that are incredibly capable. Reynoso, obviously, being the player that will come off of the tip of everyone's tongue straight away. They're a side that, if offered the opportunity, are very, very capable, like Toronto at the weekend, of punishing us. They will be very difficult to break down and create chances against. Although, having said that, they've been involved in 2 abnormal games, I believe, over the last 2 weeks. They drew 4-4 at home to Portland, and I was fortunate enough to watch that live because we started a bit later than them. And then they themselves got beat 4-3 up in Colorado. And I'm sure Adrian will point to the fact that, they had a number of players missing last weekend for different reasons. What we know is the group that we can project that they'll put out on the side will make it a really tough game. Are we capable of winning? Absolutely. Certainly based on everything I've seen at home thus far, I think we're deserving a little bit of fortune as well. I think some things have gone against us that, for the most part, we could feel pretty frustrated about. I'll reference the 2 penalty calls that didn't go our way in Portland, and maybe the 3 or 4 across the season before that. So I think we're due a little bit of luck as well. But in this game, you only ever get your luck if you actually get after it and you show that you're in a good place and you work hard for it. If we're relying on that alone, then I think we'll finish outside that playoff group. But the guys realise what's in need, what they need to do, what they have to apply themselves, and how they have to get after the game. So we'll be ready for it.
Thank you, Coach. That'll wrap up today's session with Head Coach Gary. We'll start with all week you worked and played for Adrian Heath. How's it feel to go up against him this week?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. It was cool to work with him. But we need the 3 points here against Minnesota. So we will give our best. And we have to be, careful. We know about their strengths. And that's it.
Thank you, Hany. We'll go to the floor with Tim Sullivan and then Drake Hills. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Hany, not just Adrian, but you played alongside Dane St. Clair. I think you got a little bit of time on the field at the same time as Reynoso over the weekend. What did you get a chance to learn about the way those guys play, and are you excited to go against them too?
Yeah, I mean, Reynoso is a great player. Good guy, but even a better player. And we have to be careful. He has a good left foot. But in general, we just have to focus on our game, I think. Right now is the time, it's important to focus on our game and do what we do best, stay compact and try to score some goals.
Thank you, Hany. Next we go to Drake Hills.
Hany, what happened? What drove the Chris Brown look? I'm curious to know what drove that. But also, man, is this a new chapter after All-Star? Did you feel as if this is a new chapter for you?
Yeah, first of all, I felt like I needed something new, a new look. Man, I love Chris Brown. I like it. I can't remember when I had short hair the last time. So, I thought it's a good thing to do now.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Hany, I know you have just had the one training session with your teammates again, I think, since getting back. Does it feel like they are re-energized? Obviously you and Walker had a different week than they did. How are the rest of the guys looking since you've been back?
Yeah, I think they look good. We played some small-sided today. Everyone looks good. I think we're ready, for the weekend. It's a very important game, but I learned that even if it's an important game, you just get 3 points even if you win, So, but Eric likes to say it's a six points game, because it's a rival or they're fighting for the playoff spot. So yeah, it would be good to get the 3 points.
Tim, did you have a follow-up? Awesome. We'll next go to Ben Wright. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Hany, you mentioned that this is a six-pointer against Minnesota, who are obviously competing for kind of the same range of playoff spots.
Right.
You've also talked about wanting to, especially at home, when you get that first goal and go ahead, to really kind of push hard for a second. How important do you think that's going to be on Sunday against a team like Minnesota?
Yeah, really important. We saw in their last games they scored a lot of goals, but also they conceded. So we have to take advantage of it. Stay compact, don't concede, and we have to believe that we can score goals.
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Mukhtar? Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
As
guys.
always, we will